Hello, this is Gene. I don't know if anybody's going to hear this, but I decided to go ahead and do this live. The last couple days I've been trying to upload a video, and for some reason it's not working. So I'm just going to say this. Maybe it'll work to where I can get it later on and I can put it out there. Because I don't expect anybody's going to come here and actually see who's on here. I don't have enough followers to actually say what I have to say. But what I did is I actually named this "What is British?" And the reason I did this, first let me say this. Hopefully this will save and then I could upload it on my YouTube channel so you can see. Sorry about that. Like I said, the last 2 days I've actually tried to upload stuff and for some reason I can't do it. I don't know if my iPad is messing up or whatever. I have no editing software, so really there's no difference for me doing it live than come back and changing it. I don't ever change anything I say. So a couple weeks ago I said that my son my son was going into surgery for his back. He had a screw in his back. He's got several. He's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20, I think, in his back. He's been through at least 30 surgeries for his back. But one of them was actually pointing out of the back. And it wasn't doing anything really bad to him. But, you know, you worry that there's an open wound that actually goes into your insides that obviously you can have some sort of infection from the germs that we have, even though he didn't have any of that. So they did that. He was fine. It's about a 3 or 4 inch scar to replace that part of the hardware that's in his back. He unfortunately had to stay it one night just to watch him. Plus he had a drain on his back. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. He's home right now. His school is over with. He's got one more summer, and then he goes to senior Jesus in his senior year for his high school. So me, some people knew that I recently, well, about a year ago, I got diagnosed with bladder cancer. I've had 2 different types of cancers in my life. I had a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in my small bowel, and they took out about 6 inches of my colon, my small bowel. That was a long time ago. Haven't had any reoccurrence. So at the same time that they were doing that, I also, for Kyle, my son, that I had to do this surveillance that you do when you have bladder cancer. Good Lord. It's early for me, obviously. My brain is not woken up. Anyway, every 3 months I have to get this done. And they went through and went inside and everything was good. No reoccurrence of the cancer. It's been about a year. So I've had 5 surveillances so far and not seen anything. I have 3 more. And then if that's done, then I don't have to see him like every 2 years after that. So hopefully that'll be done. Just a small part thing before I get to the actual topic of this live stream is if you have anything in your body that seems different, especially if you're peeing something and it looks different. This is for both genders, and there's only 2. Remember, there's more than 2. If something's off, it smells differently. You'll notice if something's off. Or it looks differently, or something actually comes out like pee, or it looks like blood, you need to go and have someone look at it. It takes you 5 seconds to go into an emergency room somewhere, or if you have a urologist on call or something, but they can test it right there, and they can take a picture of it and see if there's anything there. You got to catch these things early. Sometimes they come back, and you know that's like unfortunately, you know, it's how your genetics work with the stuff. Some people it comes back. I've been lucky so far that it hasn't come back. But you just you need to be an advocate for yourself. And I think the biggest, other than the video I did about the Force Awakens, I think the second biggest video that I did talked about my bladder cancer. And I actually got to talk to people who were her fathers, a lot of young kids whose fathers were going through bladder cancer, and their fathers wasn't going in to see the doctors, and you know the kids actually tell him, and then they found out that the guy has bladder cancer. So anyway, the meaning of this video, if anybody ever sees this, I'm just going to talk it and see what happens. Like, what is really British? And what brought this up is obviously with the wedding with Harry and Markle and all that stuff. That's part of it. But also, this morning, Rory McIlroy was talking about, somebody asked him about if he'd want Liverpool to win the Champions League final tomorrow. And as you know, I'm a Manchester United fan. Been a fan for all my life that I can remember since about 12 years old. So about 40 years I've followed the team. It's been very hard to do that before the internet and everything else, but still I've been a fan for a long time. So he just went on and said, you know, I'm a United fan, but I would like it if a British team actually would win the championship. And I just took a back step and I said, Liverpool is not a British team. And this how they just worded this and saying that that Manchester United is a British team. It's not. It's a club, a multicultural type of club that has players from all around the country, all around the world, and even the players that they have, which considered English, are not really British. And this might be a very hard thing to say, and people may get upset when you say it. But as much as I like Markage, Rashford, Lingard, Smalling, these guys are not British. And it's strange, especially with this whole mixed race stuff, because I think Smalling's father or mother is white, and I think that Lingard's mother is black. And they always say that if the mother is black, then the baby is black, because that's what Markle is. Apparently, even though she looks like a white girl, she must be black because mother is black, and it comes from the side of the mother and all that. But what does that do with Smalling? Are they the same together? But the point is simply this: they're not British. Now, obviously, as white people die out and we become the smallest minority in any racial presence on this earth, yeah, what we actually look at as British will be something totally different. And it already has in that way. I mean, in London that way, it's not a British city anymore. So when older guys or somebody like me who says, you know, that doesn't look normal to me, that London is not really a British town, we get called a lot of things, like we're racist or something like that. So I just want to tell you how I feel for one person, even though I'm not from England. My kids were born over there, but I'm not English. I'm German and French for the most part. There's a difference when you look at the team that was formed back in 1992, the boys of 1992. Now, there were a couple black guys on that team, but the guys that actually went to big prominence were white British guys. And we don't have that anymore in England. And it's not because in the last 25 years that there aren't white British lads who can play the game. Somehow we've decided that, maybe that the black players are better. We should teach them at the earlier level, because when we look them on film or when we see them together, that they might run five yards further on a 100-yard pitch. That then we have to develop that because it looks like they have more athletic ability. I mean, obviously you go down to lower levels in the British game, League One, the Championship, League Two. It is a lot of white British lads that are playing at that level. But around the world, and especially United States or in England and Europe, the teams that are players that are actually given the leg up are multiculturalism. And I don't know what that is. I do not necessarily believe that Paul Pogba or Romeo Lukaku are better than any other player from a different race that could be at the same level at that time. Obviously, Harry Kane is just as good as Lukaku. Harry Kane came from nothing and became one of the best players in the Premiership. So I don't know. You know, obviously it's me looking at it from my bias as a white man. But it's just happening all over sports around the world, and it's changed so quickly. It's not like it just happened overnight. This is just, it took years and years, it seemed like, to happen. And I think that there's an actual psychosis that's going on right now that says that there's no way that two guys standing right next to each other, one happens to be black and one happens to be white, that we're going to immediately expect that this black person is better athletically than that white person. Where the game is not necessarily based on your athleticism. I mean, some of the greatest teams of all time didn't have the greatest talent of all time. Not when it comes to just talent. I mean, that's why we get so upset with Pogba, who does stuff on the pitch that you just don't think I would do. And I've never played at that level. I mean, just the passes that he makes and the stupid decisions that he makes. Yes, he's physical. He can hold on to the ball. But that doesn't always decide who is the best player. So I just don't. This is the thing that I've always heard for my entire life, that each generation that goes by, excuse me, as each generation that goes, Lord. As each generation goes by, that the athletes and the sports get better. And I'm going to tell you that's just not the case. And I don't want to be all nice, traditional, I can't say the word. Those who don't know me, I had a stroke a while back, and it's hard for me to say certain words. And especially, I have to try to find this stuff and be able to get it out. But anyway, it doesn't work out that way. I don't necessarily believe that the team from 1999 could, let's say Madrid wins tomorrow, that the 1999 team couldn't beat that team, or the teams that we had in 1994 couldn't beat teams now. Soccer is one of those things that I don't think it hasn't changed that much. Now, the ball has changed a little bit, and you can't really physically destroy people anymore. If you do, you get taken out of the game. Sometimes it still happens, but it just, these guys are all divas now. They don't ever want to get hurt. So it's one of those things, and back here in the United States, the NBA, I'm watching the Warriors against the Rockets, the two teams vying to get to the finals, and I'm watching how badly they're playing fundamental basketball. Now, there are 10 people on the court, and they're all black. Now, some of them are mixed, but I'm not saying that black people can't play basketball great. I mean, I think it's part of their culture. They really like that. In the black and in the white culture, it used to be baseball. But all this stuff we kind of went away from now. We've almost pushed it away. And I don't know why that is. I don't understand why guys, when I was young, that was all we did. We played all the time. And you don't see it anymore. But still in the black community, you're going to see that more and more there because they think they need this to get out of where they're at. This is not saying, I'm not saying it's bad to having the NBA being 90% black or Manchester United should be half black. That's not what I'm trying to say. This whole stream started by the idea what is really British, and we're not seeing that anymore. The biggest teams in England are the most multicultural teams there are. You might have one or two or maybe three guys that are actually homegrown, and I'll put it out there that there might be Irish or Scottish or English or Wales. So they might have 20% of the team might have that. But even that, you get a lot of them happen to be black or mixed race that are doing this. And nobody wants to talk about this. They all talk about what I talk about on this channel about the alt-right and nationalism and that type of thing, and what I actually put myself into, what I actually say I am. What I am is I'm just a defender of Western civilization. And I think that it's clear who built that, and I think we should defend that. And if I say that, and I might come out and say I don't like the fact that Manchester United has 8 of the 11 people are black, and three of them are black Englishmen, and I'm like, that's not really British. That's not really British. You can call me racist if you want. I don't really care at this point. It doesn't look right to me. And I would think they would think the same way if you were playing in a league in Italy and all you saw was somebody that wasn't Italian. There was a time in the 90s, I think it was, that you had to have so many people that were actually from the country to be part of your team when you go play in the Champions League. And they went away with that. I really think that at the highest level in the Premiership, that the team should have they should field, at least in their 20 players, let's say. You got your starters, and you had the first team, which actually has the subs, should be at least half people from the country. Now, of course, Rashford would still qualify, Lingard would still qualify, Smalling would still qualify, and so my whole thing about saying that's not really British wouldn't mean much, but the idea is that it still should be representative of this country, let's say. But it's one of those weird things that when Roy McIlroy, who is a quote-unquote United fan, said he's okay if a British team wins. Well, Liverpool, as it comes to football, is not a British team anymore. Manchester United is not a British team anymore. When we talk about professional club sports, there's no real nationalism going there. You just don't see that, and it's like being in the United States. The people who play for the New York Knicks are not from New York. They're not. It's just who are the best players that they get that they want to pay and all that stuff. But the fans that are in the crowd, even though Manchester United has a very diverse fan base, even in the UK, it has a huge diverse fans base. Still, most people in the crowd don't look like the players that are on the pitch. And that's nothing against Rashford. I love the guy. I hope he becomes a great legend. I have no issue with Lingard, and I'm one of the few people that actually defend Smalling. I think Smalling's been a great defender for us for a long time, and this guy came from basically non-league to play at the biggest team in the world. So obviously I give him all the props in the world. I'm just saying obviously I'm the old guy in the room, but I would have said the same thing probably 20 years ago if this was the case. It wasn't that wasn't the case anymore, and I don't really like where Manchester United are going right now with the transfer thing. They're not finding anybody that really is English. They're not finding anybody that's native to Europe at all. We're looking at people that are Brazilian. The guy that's from Lazio, I think he would be a good Savic. That would be a good person to get. It becomes so much that watching football it's like watching the NBA. The talent did not change that much since that team won in 1992, or the team that came up in 1920. Team from 1992, the one that had Giggs and Beckham and Savage and the Nevilles and Scholes, that the talent has not changed so much that we can't have the same type of thing happen in the biggest club in England. There's no reason why we shouldn't have that. And you know what? They do have it to a point. But even at the under 14s, the under 15s, under 17s, they are recruiting people from around the world that don't look like anybody from around there, because they're based on this guy actually looks like he could run a little bit faster, and we're going to bring him in. And maybe it's cheaper because they're getting guys from Africa. They don't have to pay a whole lot of money to get them, and they think that maybe over time that they can make them as good as somebody that might be local. I don't know what the issue is, but it shouldn't be like this. It's not all of a sudden now that native British white kids cannot play the game. And I've seen it here in basketball. It happened really a long time ago for me. Back when the NBA was about to die, before Magic got there and Larry got there, when I was playing in high school, and nobody really watched the NBA. And because the reason why they didn't watch it, because it still was dominated by black players, but the whole culture back then was very bad, and there was a lot of problem going on in the black community, and still is today. So, but anyway, so the game, people didn't go watch it. They just didn't do it until Larry came and Magic, and he changed the game to where we actually passed the ball first, and it's not about the individual, it was about the team. So I supported them for what they do. But we're back to that as well. I'm watching that game last night, and I know I'm rambling, but I don't care. At this point, I said I can't get any of my videos out there. Hopefully this will be out there, and then when it puts on YouTube, people can actually come back and look at this. I'm watching that game last night, and all they do is they ISO everything. It's like, let me get everybody here, and one guy against one guy, and I get past that guy, then I have a shot. That's not playing a team game. And this is exactly what Paul Pogba does, too, in the midfield. He holds onto that fucking ball, and he's like, what am I going to do with it? And what, 1 out of 10, he might do something well, and 1 out of 100, he might do something that actually leads to a goal. And everybody wants to defend him. And if I say anything, I'll say, oh, you just don't like it because of this and that. The guy obviously doesn't. His IQ is an issue when it comes to playing football. Maybe off the field he might be a poet. He might, but on the field his football IQ is so poor, and this is why Ferguson didn't care when he left. So So I'm just going to leave it at this. My kid is good. I'm doing well. Let me know what you think about my theory, let's say, that there really is no British Premiership teams anymore. You don't really find anything unless you go lower in the, like I said, League One or League Two. You don't see the native white-bred British lads playing the game anymore. And if they do, they're not being promoted for some, I don't know what it is. I just do not know what it's for. Because when they actually get the ability and they're promoted up, like Kane, nobody really thought he would have been what he was going to be. I still don't understand why he's that good, but whatever, he is. So there's something going on here, and I don't know what it is. But the fact is it's all part of the same issue, that they're changing what it is to be British. And maybe that's what's going to happen, because white people in Britain or on the continent or the United States are never really going to wake up. So if I came back here 100 years later, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a totally multiculturalism system like Brazil, and you're going to have in areas that it's all like ghettos, and the other one's going to have people that are the elite that still have all their shit, and a small lower sect of white people that are they're going to be off by themselves. Anyway, so I'm going to let this go right now, see what it does, if it works out the way I want it to do, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you for watching, the people that watch, which I don't think were any. You guys have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye. I don't know what to do.